You've been lied to about dopamine. The internet is full of self-made gurus telling you what dopamine is, what you can do to detox it, taking you on a wonderful journey of 7 days and 30 days detoxes without really actually understanding how all of it really works. Where does dopamine come from? When is it released? Does detoxing really work? So in this video, we'll break down what dopamine actually is. We'll break down how you can recalibrate your relationship with dopamine in these few steps. My name is Fahad. I'm a specialty doctor working in psychiatry in the NHS, and welcome to my show. It's all in the mind. The first thing we really need to understand is dopamine really a pleasure chemical? Is it released when you attain something? To understand this, we will take your brain. Do you see those two spots? These are called ventral tegmental area and substantia nigra. This is where the dopamine is produced. If we zoom in and go into your brain and see what is the point that dopamine is released at. Imagine your ancestor. They see a bush full of berries. The brain gives them a spike of dopamine, and this spike of dopamine actually makes them go and get the berries to feed their family. So when is dopamine actually released? Dopamine is actually released in the anticipation. It's not a pleasure chemical. Dopamine is actually a pursuit chemical. Let's take this study that they did on rats. So they taught rats how to self-administer cocaine, and then they put in carbon fiber electrodes in their brain to check real-time dopamine. What they found was that dopamine was actually highest just before getting the hit of the cocaine. So it was actually highest in anticipation, not after getting the hit of cocaine. So here's why this matters for you. Your dopamine is released exactly at the time you get the urge to look at your phone, you get the urge to scroll across your reels, or you get the urge to smoke a cigarette. So here's actionable tip number 1. So whenever you get an urge to watch these reels, give yourself 10 seconds. So the urge usually grows like a graph. It increases, then it plateaus, and then eventually within a minute or two it will decrease. So by doing this, you're taking back control. You're identifying that this is not pleasure, this is wanting. Your brain is a predicting machine. So you'll eventually train your brain to not chase it. But now that you really know where dopamine comes from, when it's released, it's important to ask the next question. Is all dopamine the same? Is the dopamine that you get from watching reels or smoking the same as dopamine that you get from good things in your life, like going to the gym, chasing goals that actually matter in your life? To figure it out, it's very important to see what really happens inside your brain when dopamine is released. So this is a video of what really happens. There is a receptor. Dopamine is like a chemical, and it goes and binds to this receptor to give you the feeling of pursuit. So when you get this cheap dopamine is the dopamine that you actually get without doing anything meaningful. So when you hit your brain with this cheap dopamine, there is suddenly a flood of dopamine molecules around this receptor, and it's more than it can handle. Over time, the brain, to protect itself, reduces the amount of receptors. So why does this actually matter if you have lower amount of dopamine receptors compared to others? Because dopamine receptors are actually like a volume knob of how good everything feels. So if you have lower amount of dopamine receptors, your happiness wouldn't feel as happy. You will not want to pursue difficult things in life. Smaller things will stop mattering to you, and you will keep on chasing cheap dopamine hit after cheap dopamine hit to flood your receptor with this dopamine. And over a long period of time, your graph of achievement and fulfillment will plateau and go down. There are numerous studies that found that people with addiction, with obesity, have low amount of dopamine receptors compared to people who don't have addiction and who don't have obesity. Let's take the example of Super Mario. Super Mario wants to save the princess. So to save the princess, Super Mario needs to go through pipes, fight monsters, fight a literal dragon, and in the end, Mario gets the princess. So the dopamine to carry out a very difficult journey to save the princess. What happens if Super Mario gets the same dopamine with a good hit? Would Mario really want to go and save the princess? No. If you want to be Mario, you need to save your princess. Here's your actionable tip number 2. Friction beats willpower. So if you're trying to quit cheap dopaminergic activities, what I want you to do is I want you to add friction. For example, if you're smoking, I want you to lock your cigarettes in a cupboard. So each time you want to smoke a cigarette, you need to go to the cupboard, open it, retrieve one cigarette, and then smoke it. So if you add friction to this cheap dopaminergic activities, over time, you're likely to do less of it. But now that you know what kind of dopamine you need to give your brain, here comes the big question. Does detox actually work? Is there any science behind detoxing yourself from dopamine? Let's find out. So let's take a very simple example. There is a person who smokes, and smoking is really harmful. He's not able to walk for a long amount of time. He's got some heart issues with it. So what if I ask them, just stop smoking for 30 days and then you're gonna be fine and then you can just restart smoking? Is that really going to work? No. The same is true for dopamine. Dopamine is a chemical that you need for living, so you can't actually detox from dopamine. How you need to look at this is that you need to look at improving your relationship with dopamine. And it starts with small steps and you need to do it consistently. Would having a detox actually work? Yes, it would work for those days. You would have taken a meaningful step, but if you go back to your habits, it's not going to work. Your brain is a pattern recognition machine. So you need to feed that you're not into cheap dopamine, and the brain needs to go and pursue hard things in order to get that hit. And here's your tip number 3. Keep the first hour of your day free from cheap dopamine. Stay away from your phone. Don't smoke a cigarette. When you get up, go get some sunlight. Start moving immediately. So now that you know what you can do to fix your relationship with dopamine, I'm going to give you an additional important thing that you can add with dopamine to get superhuman results. To understand this, you need to understand intrinsic motivation. Intrinsic motivation is something that fulfills you, that matches with your core beliefs and your core values. Extrinsic motivation is stuff that you do for money, stuff that you do for food, stuff that you do to survive. So there is a study published in 2014, and it's a meta-analysis of more than 180 studies with more than 200,000 people that consistently shows that people who derive pleasure from their work, who have intrinsic motivation to do the work, actually perform better in life than people who don't, especially at creative things and things that require hard work. So if you really want to maximize your chances, you can find something that you're intrinsically motivated to do, that you actually love doing, that aligns with your values. This will give you superhuman strength to achieve things that you don't even think is possible. To understand this really, you need to think about Michael Phelps, the man who's won the most amount of Olympic gold medals in swimming. Did Michael Phelps really swim because he wanted to get the money and the medals and the recognition? Maybe some part of him, but he was able to train himself for years on end without ever taking a single day off because he loved swimming. He had intrinsic motivation to do what he was doing, and hence he succeeded and he got extreme amounts of rewards from doing this one thing that he loved. So here's your 4th tip. Reward only after effort. Teach your brain that it actually needs to put in some effort to get the reward, to get the hit. For example, podcast only after the gym, chocolate only after studying for this amount of time. I want you to protect your dopamine and recalibrate it in a way that will help you live the happiest, healthiest life that you can possibly live. If you want to be Mario saving your princess, if you want to be Luffy who aims to become the freest man and the king of pirates, if you want to be Michael Phelps who ended up winning so many gold medals. Protect your dopamine. My name is Fahad. I'm a specialty doctor working in the NHS. This is my show. It's all in the mind. If you liked what you saw, subscribe.